All right. I can't believe it's Wednesday already again. I feel like it was just Wednesday. It's crazy. Okay, good morning, guys. Um, I really want to stick with this concept before we kind of like go off on a new tangent of the separation between the I and the M. Okay? So we went through the diagram, and if some of you aren't on the Open the Channel class, I put it on YouTube because I was just like, I just wanted everybody to see that because it's such a fundamental piece of your spiritual dementia. Okay, so what is spiritual dementia? First of all, the word dementia comes from the word demon. And if you have ever been around anybody that went through Alzheimer's or dementia, especially in the middle part of the disease, they live in the glory days and they live in the trauma, right? So it's like they're kind of living off of those heightened states of emotional programming. Okay, so I remember my grandma, like she would, tell me her glory days. Like, ooh, it's like that guy who, like, peaked in high school. Like, he just has his glory days to talk about. And she would just tell me about art school and this, and then it would like flip over to like, oh, like how much she hated her husband, my grandfather, So there was like only two sides to this. So the I and the M in separation is this is what it looks like: where I am versus who I am. Okay, that's the contradiction. That is the contradiction that every one of us are working to close the gap. So, you guys, you realize there's nowhere to go. Okay, all we're doing is closing this gap, and that all that's left on this journey is detoxing. That is it. There is nothing else. There is nowhere to get, there is nowhere to go, there's nothing to buy, there's nothing to become. It is literally unmasking, detoxing, and allowing the space for the light of the soul to, okay? So when we make it more complicated than that, or when we have a difficult time being present, it is that spiritual dementia. And you know what? Even as a teacher who could channel 24 hours a day if she wanted to, it happens. And what it means is like you fall out of your desired I am and you fall back into the action, the actor in motion. Okay. Because remember, that's going to be the stronghold. That's going to be the disconnection. That's the separation. That's what's going to keep you away from creating solid quantum entanglement with your higher self. But there's nothing else. Like there's nothing else to work on at this point. So we want to keep it very simple, focused in our lane, on our objective. It is not selfishness, it is self focus. We cannot help the world when we are 80% ego. We can't truly make a dent in our own movie if we aren't the main character. Okay? What kind of legacy are you going to leave if you're not the main character? You won't be rememberable in your state. And remember, the state of being is the frequency, the frequently thought patterns. So first law in hermetics is all is mind. So what has to be mowed and groomed and detoxed, weeded and seeded is the mindsets. Okay. The only way you are going to find your negative mindsets is in the trigger. And the trigger is not necessarily someone triggering you. It could be, frustration, irritation. It could be just a lack pattern that, is just you might be happy that you got through the day, but you're still in lack. And that's why I kind of was a little harsh in the open channel video and said we're all peasants. Okay? There's 7 different types of peasants, and peasants is a nice word for what we actually have been playing here, which is slaves. All right. So if you were going to take a kingdom, right? And one of the reasons why Jesus came at the time that he came, if you guys follow Miles Monroe work, which I highly recommend, if you want to truly understand the kingdom and the kingdom characteristics and the kingdom requirements and the kingdom keys, what is the kingdom? That is the Garden of Eden. You are here to build your Garden of Eden. You are here to build your heaven on earth through yourself. It isn't something you're going to go to or find. That's why a lot of your bigger imaginations, Imagineer work, it's like, I've never seen a tree like that. I've never seen this before. Perfect. You're pulling it from your field, the quantum field, which is your higher self has no desire. Your higher self is living. So there's 3 points. If you ever want to know, is this my ego or is this my higher self? Well, higher self is always in a state of isness. There is never lack. There is never a want or a need in your higher self, ever. There's just satisfied. There is expressing. There is experiencing. There's no desire. So ego or lower self or the demonic self or the separated self, the fallen angel self, is going to be the needs. So anything that you need, there is a demonic entity or energy between you and your I am, or your real I, your higher self I. Okay. Which means your I is operating in a demonic frequency right there. And it's super important that you can identify that. So even if you have an experience of lack, that's like a piece of the treasure map, because now you know, oh, there's a separation here. Wherever there's want, where I hear this all the time, like, well, I don't need it, but I want it. That's your inner child. Okay. And this, I think, is like alchemy 101. We did this way back in the day. But again, we want to just go back to certainty, over and over to create certainty, because we want to just remember that there's no other facts than the truth. So the more simplified that we can keep this, and the more focused that we can keep on trinities, okay, and squares. Trinities is change and organization and reconciling and reordering, and the square energy, the four energy, is the matrix. Put those together, you have a 7 cycle. So we're always working in a 7 cycle all the time. Numerology is so important when you are trying to break down life. Well, how many times do I say this? Or, it really is a sequence and a cycle. So, well, if we're looking at this concept of needs, wants, is, and we're looking at kind of that magnetic experience of the I is operating in separation and the am is acting out how to get unseparated. Like, that's a lose-lose. Okay. So anything you're trying to get, you're getting your coordinates, you're reading the script of the I that was programmed in separation. So this is why we always have to go to the wish fulfilled, where you already have, and then start modeling and molding. You guys realize the word affirm means to make firm. So the more you affirm something, okay, repetition. And one thing I've learned about manifestation is literally you could have 4 months of absolute crickets, like nothing. Matter of fact, you could have the opposite happening constantly. And then one day, pop. It's just like the baby. 1 minute the baby's not here, the next minute the baby's here. It isn't like, what I've seen about manifestation is once you hit that sweet spot, it's just there. There's no like, I think I can. But what happens is when you're lining up, you first have to manifest everything that's in the way so that you can become the character, which means that you can detox whatever is holding you back. Okay. So I want us to play a little game so we can get kind of in our inner child for today. All right. And it's actually really fun. You guys know that I had the unfortunate experience of growing up in Hollywood, but I got to be around a ton of movie making, from behind the scenes to the script to the directors to the producers. A lot of you guys don't even know what the producer does. The producer is the one that goes and funds it. Okay. The producer is the one that goes out and gets the money, or brings the money, gets the resources, and produces the film. This is your sacral chakra. This is where probably 80% of your programming, no, I would say 60% of your programming is in your sacral chakra, in your sexual energy, because that is your creative energy. That is your producer. The rest of it is really, truly in your throat. And if you look at the macro and the micro of these two chakras and frequencies, they are the same energy. Okay. One is production, the other one is expression. But in our case, this is the director. So I'm going to go through this again just so you guys can get like the memory. All right. So your root chakra, in the idea of movie making, because you are in a movie, this is your script. This is your foundation. What is written, everyone has to abide on. Okay. No matter what, there isn't another chakra in your field that can operate outside of the script. So when people are like, my heart chakra's out of alignment, I'm like, no, this is script. Just like when women come to me and say, my hormones are all crazy. No, it's your thoughts. Okay? Your thoughts is what tells the hormone what to do. All right? Your thought is going to send an electrical frequency to release a chemical reaction, and that is a hormonal experience. And the idea of a movie, that would be the music. Okay, so do you guys, I'm an avid movie buff, obviously, because I love studying the breakdown. And one of the most fundamental things about the movie is the music. Now, if you've ever watched a movie, about 30 seconds to 15 seconds before a new scene that's going to change an emotion comes on, the music changes first. Okay? So, you're watching a movie and you start to hear the little scary movie, this is scary music. It's like warning you, okay, something's going to happen, because it's taking you on an emotional journey. Why this is so important is because your movie is already made. You don't have free will unless you're in a pause, which means that your brain is preparing your body 10 minutes before an outcome, which means that your body is preparing for fight or flight before you go into fight or flight. Your body is playing the next scene's music before you step in. And then you're like, oh, I'm so happy. And then you're blindsided. What the F? And your body was like, we warned you 10 minutes ago. Like, didn't you hear the music? Didn't you hear the laugh track? Because again, it's always going to be playing slightly ahead of the actor. Okay? Because the scene gets set, right? The music is going to cue the emotional signature of how it wants you to behave. So when you go behind the scenes, they make the music afterwards, by the way, in the movie making process. Because remember, everything's an inversion here of heaven. So everything in Satan's world is the inversion of the Garden of Eden, what we're here to create. Okay? So what they do is they watch the movie and then they put the music in based on the character, the emotion that they want you to experience in that moment. So if they want you to be more afraid, they will create more afraid. If they want you to be anticipation, if they want you to laugh, okay? And if you've ever been to a live sitcom, it's brutal. It's so fake. They're like making people laugh because they want you to be what's called tribal. It's called a tribal unity, which means that if everyone's laughing, I get to laugh. And it is all hypnosis, the whole thing, because it takes you on an emotional ride so that the characters are believable. And the reason why your actor in motion, your AM, doesn't have a freaking clue that 10 minutes ago the drums started beating is because they want the actor to be believable. Because if you could anticipate what was coming, right, you could completely like change the music. This is why your emotions are so hijacked here. This is why you're in a constant state of hypnosis. So we're so distracted by circumstances, we don't even know that our whole entire nervous system is preparing for the next scene and it's about to get bad news or good news. Okay? Because the shock quality of your emotion is what the Matrix wants. It makes it a blockbuster. When you get betrayed, and it's already written. Okay? So whatever the script says, then the sacral energy will figure out how to produce that movie. Who do I need? What do I need? Okay, this character feels like she's unloved. She's abandoned. We need to get the proper people, places, and things to really bring that out in her. Okay? Because if you were rejected or abandoned as a child, I'm sure you've met some people in your day that have really re-rejected you and re-abandoned you, because it makes the film juicy. Okay. And it's always like when you're having a good day or when you're not expecting it, right? Because it makes it more believable. The sacral is giving you the simulation through the production value. So resources, money, people, places, things, all co-creation. is happening through the production of the sacral sexual energy. Okay, now I don't know if any of you guys are Dexter fans, but that's how twisted I am. And Dexter is a series about a serial killer, but he's actually a nice serial killer. He only kills the bad ones, the really naughty ones that get away from the police. Like if they go to court and they're like pedophiles and they don't get off, he's like, those are the ones he takes. Okay, and he's very methodical and autistic. But if you actually like look at his backstory, all right, his obsession, and again, you guys realize that all obsession is sexual. I don't know if you're aware of this, but just side quest here for a minute. Notice what you masturbate about. Okay, if you do, which you probably do. Okay, notice what fantasy is required for you. That's going to be linked to your abundance. Just a side note. Okay, and so if you are like, I don't do that, okay, then you are also repressing a part of your sacral energy, because that's your flow. That's your like your ability to be in that flow of prosperity. Your sexual energy is equal to your breath as far as importance. So whatever happens in childhood, see, sex hormones start to come through the body at 3 years old. So this is why kids start to touch themselves, and it isn't sexual in that way, but like that system is coming online. So whatever trauma is happening in that child's life becomes sexually related. Okay, and so wherever major distortion you have in the trauma will also be connected to your sexuality. This is why perversion is so important in the matrix. This is why humiliation sexually is so important in the matrix. Pornography is so important in the matrix because it keeps your sacral hostage, right? And it keeps you living a secret. It keeps you feeling icky and disgusting and guilty and shameful about your own sexuality. All right? And so if that producer, okay, is perverted in any way, and I don't mean perverted like only that means pedophile. Perverted means anything that is out of alignment with source and unity, okay, and oneness and unconditional love. You do the math. So you could literally have gotten hit by a car at 4 years old, and somehow it will be connected to your sexuality. I will let you guys go down that rabbit hole. Okay. We will probably be unpacking that in the women's retreat because it is so important, but it is also, it's an intimate conversation. But at the same time, I want you to understand if there is something like your kryptonite, something you can't manifest is 100% linked to your sexuality. And you're going to want to unpack that because that's your producer. Okay. That's your production value. So your next level up is going to be the actor, the main character. So every movie has a star. All right. And even if it's like a couple star, there's always going to be one that's going to outshine the other one, or like two that really become one. Or if you've ever like become married and like all of a sudden everybody starts identifying you as like as one entity, right? And it's just like now you're this main character when you're with your husband, and then you're this main character when you're not. Okay, that's another form of separation. So we really want to look at where this distortion happens, because it isn't just in your thought. It is in your whole movie making team. All right. And again, I'm only going to discuss the 7 chakras. There's way more, which means there's cinematography, right? there's so many people. There's like, I think when the last time I was on a set, I think there was at least like 50 or 60 people working just on sets, lights, and stage stuff. So you can imagine that the other chakras are just as important, but we're just going to go for our inner child value here to stay focused in what we can work with directly, because the sacral is working with other chakras in this movie making experience. So the next level up is going to be your main character, your actor, your demonstration. Okay, who you are out in the world, who you are by yourself. Okay, this is the main actor. Now, the next chakra is the heart chakra. That's your editor. This is where all editing happens. Okay, you can't edit it in the root. You have to edit in the heart and bring it to the root, right? Next level up is your throat chakra, and that is your director. Now, the director is, I mean, they're all super important, but the director has most of the control of this movie, besides the money. This is why the sacral and the throat chakra are the most poisoned. That's why the entry level porthole for the matrix to hypnotize you is in the back of your throat. Okay? They get you through the perverted sexuality, and they get you speaking the wrong words, and they burrow in the back of your neck. Okay? To bring the implants and goodies that they store in your movie. All right? Next level up is your third eye, that is your projector. This is how you are seeing this motion picture. Okay? This is how you're witnessing your movie. That's already, it's already happened. You're just finally watching it. Okay, so when I say everything has already happened 10 minutes prior, you're watching it, which is the observer, which is the observer who is actually taking all of this process in, which is the crown chakra. Okay, so it's almost like the king is sitting on the throne, or the observer is like watching this whole thing play out. This is why you can have so many different aspects of your own reality in a given day. And that's a lot of times what causes the dementia. Because if you can imagine, and I think in another video, I used the analogy that your root is the CEO and your sacral is the CFO. Same thing. Okay. Because like the script is your Truman Show. And I don't care if you walked down a street and bumped into someone, they were hired to be in your movie. Okay. And a lot of times when you're bumping into people, it's like past life connections of exchanging DNA sequences that you have no idea what's going on, because it's in the superconscious and the subconscious, or in the unconscious. Because you're only aware of about 90% of your day of your conscious awareness, unless you get triggered. And then that's your subconscious speaking to you. Or you see a glimmer, that's your subconscious speaking to you. All right. But you're just day-to-day emotions. You think that you're making it up. You're like, I'm going to go down the stairs now. You think that you're actually deciding that in the moment. You decided that 10 minutes ago. Okay. Now, the more you close this gap between the I and the M, the more you are in the present moment. And as soon as you pause, you're going back to the editor. Okay. So if you pause and take a breath and then, regroup back into your nastiness, nothing's going to happen. So what we want to do is understand that it's I am that I am. So the I am is written in the script, and then the I am in the crown is living it. Okay, this is why your pineal gland is so poisoned. This is why they put so much heavy metals in your body. Because what this does is it creates separation from this whole system working as this beautiful movie making team that will create your own matrix. Okay. So if you were like, 5 years old and you're like, I want to be an actor when I grow up, right? But your parents couldn't afford acting classes and they told you that was a waste of time. And so you never really pursued it, but you still loved it. Okay. Now imagine you're 30 and all you're doing is watching other people's movies. This is the same as when you go on your phone for 2 hours. You're literally watching other people's lives that were brave enough to film something. Okay. Now, if you are shooting things and sharing things, then you're probably, we might see you, like we might see Anne do a cute little reel that's like 90 seconds or something, but we don't know how long that took her to film. She maybe did like 3 takes, changed her outfit 6 times. I know I do that. So we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That could have been her whole day, right? Well, probably not for her. Once you get a little bit more professional about it, you don't have to take 800 pictures to get a good one anymore. But that's kind of what's happening. Is it's like somebody sees, 6 seconds, oh man, their life looks so cool. And it's like you're only seeing this part of my house and the other part is like totally trash, right? So it's like when we are looking at other people's chakra movie, okay, then what are we doing with ours? Okay. And again, it's going to be, I want you to understand that one of your greatest triggers is lack of motivation. But see, we don't look at that like a trigger. Okay. Like if you have a dream in your heart and you are not working on the craft, you're not practicing it, you're not playing around, you're not researching, you're not, if you have a dream in your heart and you spend your time trying to figure out how to deserve that dream through spiritual training. Like, okay, like what would be a better investment here? It's like, okay, I want to be an actor when I grow up, and and I'm gonna be a famous star or whatever, which I do not want to be, but just to say for shits and giggles, okay, that's what you wanted to do. And so then you woke up, and instead you spent $30,000 on a mentor to help you with childhood trauma, or $30,000 on acting training. But what do we do? How much money have you guys spent on me alone? Right? It's like, come on. You see, so it's like, but we're taught that we're broken and that's why we're not an actor. Okay. We're taught that we need to study spirituality to become an actor, to deserve it. When all we needed to do is just take the acting classes over and over and over again until our brain created a neural pathway where now we're Robert De Niro. Like, but again, a lot of us empathic people, we were not allowed to fight, we were not allowed to flight, and we were not allowed to freeze. Okay, when you are not allowed to fight, you are not allowed to fight, and you are not allowed to freeze as a child, you only have two options left: friend or fawn, which means bulk of your life has been friending the enemy, getting in relationships with people that are hurtful, okay, and saving people, because that's what fawning is. It's helping people that are constantly in and needing help. And all you really need to do is start fighting and unthaw that part of you. Okay. Or acknowledge the freeze and don't go help someone. Or, you know what? I'm out of here. That actually would be so much more healing than living in that savior complex for 3 lifetimes, or doing what I did, marry 2 bullies, because I always found the biggest bully at school. And so my neural pathway was find the biggest bully as soon as you start something new. And so I was attracted to bullies. Who would have thought? But again, just because I went on a spiritual journey and learned about spirituality does not mean that I changed my script on the I level. Okay? Is this making sense so far? All right. So I want us to, and I think too, the more that we can kind of get away from all this spiritual indoctrination, which has now become kind of poison too, is to go back to your craft. All right. What is your craft? And what I mean by that is, how do you want to serve the world? Do you want to serve the world by being the best grandmother in the world? Do you want to serve the world by creating a beautiful space to help awaken people? Do you want to be an artist? How do you want to serve? Because you're going to think that the things you want to do are selfish, but it is the very thing that humanity needs. Humanity needs real art, not Satan's movies that are all smoke and mirrors. Real music, real testimonies, real truth, help coming from a full place, not an empty place. Okay, so it's like we don't need more doctors and all these things. We need children that refuse to grow up, that now have become so good at playing that they can even manifest their own abundance. Because again, if you see someone playful, that's inspiring. That's going to inspire you to play. That's priceless. Okay? If someone made you laugh today, that's service. It's not always about, I think that one thing I noticed about even spiritual teachers is everyone's so damn heavy. Like, ugh, like, let's be really heavy. And like, nobody wants to tell jokes or anything. And it's just like, what are we doing? We're just down another rabbit hole. And now my script is, I'm on a spiritual journey. Okay. Just like Saint Germain said in the Alchemy of Play workshop, you've been there for 4 lifetimes. You've been a spiritual teacher in 4 lifetimes. You've glass ceilinged yourself 4 lifetimes because actually all you wanted to do is, I don't know, go play dress up or whatever. You know what you want to do. But if you loved it enough, the frequency of love would create prosperity. Because remember, joy and love is the root and the fruit is prosperity. Okay, so when we get caught up in that I have to do for money or I have to do for love, that is what you were taught to be in your root chakra your first 7 years. So it's almost like many of us, we've done so much inner childhood work, we've done a lot of shadow work, and that's not the issue. I'm about to expose one of my biggest realizations that has completely collapsed at least 15 of my blocks in the last week. Okay. Most of us here, okay, that started our spiritual journey probably started off first studying nutrition. Okay, because like someone was sick, like it's almost like the bridge of like quantum physics is usually like nutrition. Like that's the gateway drug. Okay, and so most of us in this community are more trained in nutrition than doctors because we've been through it. Plus, we're empaths and sensitives, and so we can feel, and so then we go research for other people. All right. Have you ever gone on a tangent for someone else's disease and been like, oh my God, I know everything there is about lymphoma, right? It's like, because that's who you are. All right. Like we love to know how things work. We're scientists at mind. When you get into the higher level, like when you get into the higher level of spirituality, it's just alchemy. We're all scientists at this point, but it's that spiritual connection of how it all works. So I want to give you guys like a little bit of as above is below. When you guys don't feel well, you know, probably 60% of you are still going to the diet change first. Okay, before you go to the emotional. But here's how it works: spiritual, chemical, physical. Now, what is the chemical? It's emotion. But what does emotion create? Hormones. Okay. And that was the basis of the entire quantum fitness program was biohacking hormones. Because if you would just force produce 4 different hormones every day, it would be the equivalent of the forgiveness, gratitude, and joy work. If you were like, I'm only going to let myself have oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, real dopamine, okay, and endorphins today, you realize you'd all be surfing on top of the waves. You'd all be literal pro surfers by this point because the frequency is so high, you'd be living in a state of gamma, theta, and alpha, and beta only in moments of transition, and delta's asleep. You would not be living in beta, 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 and then forcing yourself to get to alpha to breathe or theta to breathe. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to look at our body as nothing other than a computer, all right, and realize that the apps that came in, our computer was programmed to run this program of separation. And if my script is in separation, then my actor in motion is going to build an entire movie out of separation. Okay, so what were you separated from? Were you always separate from money? Were you always separate from health? Okay. Were you always separated from love? Has time always been a warden for you? Have you always felt like you had no personal space? So again, you want to look for common denominators here because again, it feels so easy to get upset with the spouse or the sister-in-law, but it's just all they're doing is playing out the same character archetype as your first 7 years. Okay, so I want us to play a game really quick because it is hilarious how I show you that this is your Truman Show. All right, now this is going to have to be something you're going to have to do outside of class because it would dig into our class time. But I want you guys to go on a little treasure hunt after this, and I want you to look up the most popular blockbuster movie the year you were born. Okay, what was the blockbuster movie the year you were born? Okay, all right. Now we're going to quantum leap to 7 years. What was the most popular blockbuster movie playing at your 7th year? Then look at your 8th year, Then look at your ninth year. And then that brings us to the present holographic cycle shift, which is your 10th year. Okay? So your first year is going to be your script theme. This is how I will prove to you guys that you're in the Truman Show. The theme of your script is going to be whatever movie was the blockbuster. So you realize that movies are collective tribal experiences. Okay? Collective tribal experiences. And again, I wouldn't say so much now because we're moving away from movies and we're getting more into shorts and reels and documentaries. So our kids, this game would be probably different for our kids, like the new ones that are born in like the last 10 years, maybe. Okay. But in our generation, in the 1-9 generation before the 2000s started, okay, that was the masculine. The 1 is the masculine, the 2 is the feminine. All right. So when you're looking at this, that's the masculine, which is, download. All right. So you've got your first year, which is your theme, your 7th year, which is your hardened hard drive. So there's going to be a message about that movie that shows you that you are stuck in some sort of role, or that it's going to relate. Trust me, I've done this with like 15 people and it is amazing. Your 8th year is going to be your karmic loop, a theme of your karmic loop. A karmic loop that you're playing out. You guys are going to laugh so hard when I tell you what mine are. Okay? I mean, it's so funny. You can't make this shit up. All right. Then your 9th year is going to be your cycle completion of what you have been working to complete. And 10th is going to be the theme of this year. Okay. Now, this is all going to tie back to the Dexter story in a minute. So you're probably like, why is she saying it? Okay. Trust me, it's going to come back full circle. All right. So when I had my 50th birthday, we had like several little parties, and one where my mom came over, and my mom and I are like besties now. It's so weird. I'm a different eye, so she gets to be a different eye. This woman loves me. I cannot believe it. Like, she told me, I don't love you. She's been my Darth Vader my entire, her and I, like, she cries how much she loves me now. And I'm just like, this is so cool. But it doesn't even feel weird because I've changed my eye. So of course she would. Why wouldn't she love me? I've changed my eye. Okay. I'm no longer the kid that was unwanted. I'm the daughter of a king. So of course everyone's going to love me. Right. So you start to change the eye. Then everyone in your movie starts to change. Okay. So, and when I say everyone in my movie has changed since I started working in those 3 frequencies, I mean everyone is changing for me in my movies. Like, they're matching how I feel about myself. Okay. So I'm proving it. It's not just a theory. Okay. So my mom was over and she was telling this story about how when the movie Jaws came out, this is probably a little bit before your time, but it was like, came out in 75, how terrified she was that she couldn't even take a bath. Okay. She couldn't get to a pool. And here's the crazy thing. I thought that was my story, because I remember telling people that when I watched Jaws, I couldn't take a bath and I couldn't go in a pool. That's when that was in my 9th month of pregnancy. So Jaws was the most famous movie the year I was born. And I will tell you, the theme of my first 7 years is like that movie: drowning, constantly in fear, right? Like feeling all alone, feeling like night fears, feeling like they're sharks. Like, literally, that was like, when I saw that, I belly laughed. And then when she told me that story, I was like, is that her story or my story? I don't even know what's true. Because she was like, yeah, I couldn't even go to a bath. It was so weird. And I was like, is that where all my night terrors came? Is that where all my fear came from? Was a stupid movie? You know what? Like, who knows? But it's just a program. Okay. My 7th year, E.T. E.T. phone home, right? Totally fits me. All right. My 8th year, Indiana Jones. Hello. Okay. 9th year, Star Wars. Hello. Okay. And I think the 10th year was another Star Wars movie. So here I think I'm being original. This is my Truman Show. Now, the great thing too, if you really want to like really unpack who you are as a movie, also reflect on the most popular song that year and all 4 of those years. Because there's going to be a message for you in each one of those blockbuster songs. Because when I tell you the Matrix, it was already done before you came. There's a reason why you were born on the year when that song went platinum, because it's an integration program for you. See, and part of the awakening is that everyone gets to be a star now. See, when social media really started to become unhinged, anybody could be a celebrity, anybody could be an influencer, anybody could start a trend. But before that, think back just a few years, all we had was our actors, all we had was our sports people and our musicians and our politicians. So the entire collective was obsessed with who they chose for us to love. The movies, did we even like the movie, or was it a tribal unity factor? Did we actually laugh, or did we laugh because we were programmed to laugh? Okay. So your movie is your Truman Show. And it is being hosted, produced, acted, edited, directed, projected, and experienced inside of you. Okay? So the funny thing about, like, when you look at Dexter and you go back to the sexuality, so one thing about trauma is it's almost like, why do we date our why is it when we leave home we go try to date our dad or date our mom? And what that means is that we're our sexual energy is actually seeking fulfillment and closure and completion. And so we become attracted to our unfulfilled love needs. So wherever you were unfulfilled in a love, that's what you're going to be attracted to in the matrix. Because that inner child psychologically is saying, this time I'm going to prove that I'm lovable. And this time they're going to love me. So it's almost like you're getting another shot at childhood with your first partner. Okay? And that's the Dexter effect, because the sexuality and the trauma begin to merge. And what you are sexually attracted to is going to have a lot to do with your trauma until you heal your sacral. All right? And that's your moneymaker. Okay? So if you think about that and you look at Dexter, and it wasn't like he was like turned on by killing people, but he was. So you can be turned on in a non-sexual way, but it still comes. His wound was happening through his production value. So here's what I did, 4 years old. I used to take the bus downtown into Malibu and go out in the ocean and surf. I'm chasing sharks. You know how many times I've been airlifted from a chopper, getting caught in riptides? Because I was seeking my own abuse. So one part of you is addicted to your abuse, and one part of you is running away from it. And now this is the psychological thriller that is happening below the surface. But if you keep attracting narcissists, or you keep attracting the same situation, it is 100% coming from a traumatic imprint, a program, okay? It was programmed into you. Because again, you're an empath and you're here to awaken. And so what they do is they create this huge side quest for you so that you never wake up. But see, that's why in 2012, when the big light switch went on and the Matrix was like, oh, you're all fired, everyone started to kind of like become their own independent actor, right? And then we started kind of like working off of the influence of these, YouTube stars and things like that. And now it's like, that guy's still acting? Isn't he a pedophile? I mean, that's the way we look at Hollywood now, right? But it's been a very short time where like movies and music and that's all we had. Especially in the United States, like that's all we had was that. That was our culture. Entertainment was our culture. Okay? And now it's hard to sit and watch movies that they've made recently because it's like there's no experience value there, right? It's like, and how many times can you remake the same movie because there's no original thought because there's no one behind the the sheets anymore except our own programs running. And there's so much fear. You can always tell where the vibration of the collective is without being truly in your psychic abilities. Go look at the current movies and count how many horror movies are out. That'll tell you the frequency of the collective. Okay. How many comedies are out? How many love stories? That will tell you where the collective is vibrating. And it's like, how did Hollywood know that the collective was going to be vibrating in love by the time that movie was made 2 years ago? Because it's already done. It's already done. And that's why your wish fulfilled is already done. So just like you're watching a movie, you're paying $20 to go to a movie with popcorn. That movie might have been made 10 years ago. But you're watching it for the very first time because it's finally been released. So when you say, I have to get something, I have to go create, it's already created. You already made the movie of your dreams. I'm going to say that again. You have already written the movie of your dreams, produced it, casted it, edited it, directed it, and watched it. But now that you're in separation, it feels like something you have to go build or do or have. But what's happening is the movie that you created for yourself is playing right now. It's in a field of awareness and potential that's starring you, waiting for your observation. The only thing missing in that movie is you observing it, which is why they hack into the pineal gland. Okay? Because if your pineal gland is turned towards the Matrix's movie, then you are only able to watch the script that you were programmed to watch. That's where the spiritual dementia comes in. And some of you are having dementia symptoms all day long, where you're falling in and out of consciousness. It's like, I remember in the early stages with my grandmother, it's like we'd come home and be like, we don't know if she's going to hit us with a frying pan or say our name. We don't know. But how many times have you guys been like, I'm so woke right now, I'm never going to fall asleep again, and then trigger, and you're like, I feel like I have no spiritual training at all right now. I can't remember any of it. I just want to act in this movie. I want to react so hard, man. I want to be this actor so bad. Okay? And again, is that spiritual dementia? And that comes from the word demon. And demon is just a consciousness that is in separation from creator. It's not evil, it's not bad, it's just separate. And it's going to take you away from your movie. It's going to take you away from your movie into the Matrix movie and be like, look over here, look at my movie, it's way better, look at my blockbuster. We spent all your money and energy on this movie. Okay? But all you have to do is go, hold on a second. I feel that there is a movie in my heart. As your editor. Okay? Let me go down into the root and be like, where's my script? Where is my script that I wrote before I came here? That's actually been playing out in a parallel reality with not me observing it, or only observing it in my imagineering, or only observing it, every now and again when my reticular activates, like, hey, idiot, look over here, right? Like, that's it. But it is literally playing. There is nothing to get. There is nothing to buy. There is nothing to do. There is nothing that you need to become except focused on it. Now, if you would focus on that script, okay, it's going to take us into why this takes us so effing long. And I'm going to have to use a physical analogy here because as above is below. So you guys cannot be on social media right now and not see, the 500,000 influencers that are influencing parasite cleanses, right? Okay. If you're on social media at all, you've seen at least 15 parasite cleanses today. Okay. Why is that relevant right now? Okay. Well, let me explain how above is below. A parasite is a manifestation of a demon. Okay. Now, demons are separation. You do need certain amounts of separation or shadow in order to have a movie here. Because again, if I know everything that's going to happen in my movie, then it's not going to be that much fun. So we are going to have a certain amount of shadow, just like you need a certain amount of parasites in your body to exist. Okay, having parasites is actually completely normal. It's the same. It's all part. It's like ants. Okay, it's like bugs out in the world, right? But what happens is when there becomes an overgrowth. Okay, then the body's ebb and flow, flora and fauna gets completely out of whack. Okay, and then it becomes detrimental. Just like if you had, like going to Australia during spider season. Absolutely not. No. Okay. No, no, no. You come outside, your car is in a big web. I would light it on fire. Okay. That is but that's what they're used to. But again, when you look at parasites, okay, a certain amount, okay, you would, let's just put it this way. You'd be dead right now if you didn't have parasites. Here's why. All right. They consume the toxins, the sugar, and the heavy metals. All right. That's why there's so much heavy metals out there, is because it causes your body to call in more parasites to deal with the heavy metals and the poisons so that you don't have to experience it. There is another consciousness that is experiencing that energy. Okay. But again, it makes the body go into dis-ease and begin to malfunction when there becomes an overgrowth. All right. This is why nature is so sophisticated that there will be a forest fire if there's too much overgrowth. There is going to be a mushroom that's created that's going to help with overgrowth. Nature has a way of making sure, because she's so abundant, because too much abundance becomes poison. Walk into a hoarder's house. Okay. It becomes poisonous when it becomes too much. Right. Now, the first level of awakening, which is the beginning of this bridge, is like, we're going to fix our body through parasite cleanses. Honey, that's the manifestation of a demon, right? You might as well look at the demons first, because they're the ones calling in the parasites. Now, what does heavy metal do? It blocks you from you. It's a door. It's heavy. It's density. What's your frequency? Joy. It's in opposition. So what would the spiritual idea of a heavy metal be, right? It would be a very big fear. It would be guilt. It would be shame. That would be the equivalent of the manifestation of like heavy metal, because it's like so heavy and you can't see around it. And it feels like a door is locked. Okay, so what happens is these parasites not only consume it, they hide in this heavy metal in the body and these toxins in the body. All right. Just like your demons are hiding in your relationships, they're hiding in your addictions, they're hiding in your homes, they're hiding in your bodies. Now, demons, entities, and parasites, they think, they feel, they desire, they want. They're having their own movie in there. All right. And when their numbers, when their collective gets too big, it begins to influence you. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you do the spiritual work, you don't have to do the parasite cleanses. But here's what happens. Any of you guys ever done parasite cleanse? Any of you? Okay. Have you ever done any cleanse or fast? Any of you? Okay. So anytime you're going to do like a serious detox on your body, it isn't the detox that's difficult. It's the aftermath, right? When all those toxins begin to re-enter the blood cells and the body, that's when all the flu-like symptoms come in. Okay. So now they're getting smarter, because it's like they're putting people in the hospital with these parasite cleanses because they're not using the correct protocol on how this invasion works. This is like the Walking Dead in there. Okay. So any good protocol as a nutritionist would be to prepare the body first for the cleanse. Do the cleanse. Last step is add a binder. What's a binder? Okay. A binder is going to be for the skunk effect. Now, what parasites do in your body, and demons do the same thing, by the way, is as soon as you kill a parasite, it goes, okay, and it opens up its body and it puts all the poison into your bloodstream while releasing all the eggs. So it's like, oh, you trying to kill me? You trying to kill me? Well, here's all my babies, and here's your toxins back. You're ungrateful. Doesn't this sound a lot like a narcissistic relationship? Is a narcissistic relationship scary when you first break up or after? The aftermath of a narcissist is way scarier than the breakup, which is why we don't break up. Because what they do to us after, ooh, it's havoc. Okay, because as above is below, you guys. Like Parasite is the same narcissistic actor. Okay, it's literally the same character. So they do the skunk effect, which is they totally expel every toxin that they have in their bodies, and then they release all their eggs, and then they're like, bye, sucker, right? Because they know they've just re-poisoned you. Okay, so what happens is when you start killing a bunch of parasites in an unprepared body with no binder, it's going to look like an autoimmune disease or cancer, okay, or something worse, because you didn't add a binder. Now let's look at ours when we break up. Do we add a binder? When we leave a job, do we add a binder? When we walk away from the matrix, did we remember to add the binder? Do you guys realize that most of our suffering this last year was because we've been stuck in a detox? We've been detoxing the matrix without adding a binder. Are you guys hearing what I'm saying here? Let me tell you what a binder is in the body, and then I'll show you what it is in the spiritual world. So a binder that you would add to the body to help grab this heavy metal so it doesn't go in and poison all your organs would be something like charcoal, okay, bentonite clay, right, DE, borax capsules, all right, baking soda, water flushes, okay, lots and lots of sleep, saunas, colonics. These would be binding agents that would basically be a support system so that your body doesn't have to relive all of the trauma of ingesting the poison. Okay, right? So it's like you start to go in an overdose. Why do they pump your stomach? Because if you had to actually process it, it could kill you. But us as spiritual people, we are walking away from the Walking Dead, which is a parasitic collective. And we forgot to add the binder. So let me ask you guys, and I'll be honest, have you ever done a detox and chickened out? Which means that when you start to detox, the symptoms get so overwhelming, the headaches get so bad, the pain gets so bad that you end up taking like something, something poisonous to help with the detox that you're trying to do to get rid of all the poisons. Have you ever done that? I have. Okay, I'm like, I can't do it anymore. Uncle, give me the ibuprofen. Okay, and now I'm just re-ingesting a poison. This is what we've been doing. All right. When we start to walk away from the matrix, which means I'm not going to work a 9 to 5, we walk away from the matrix. We walk away from those toxic relationships that might have been taking care of you. You walk away from certain family and friends. You walk away from your collective friend group. Okay. You are literally getting skunked. This is why as soon as you go into the light and start creating joy, you're actually going to experience a detox. This is why when you go high, you're immediately going to go low because the matrix just skunked you. Like, how dare you be in joy? You're supposed to be in suffering. So what happens is you've actually started detoxing the matrix as soon as you start choosing forgiveness, blessings, joy, right? Gratitude. You're actually putting yourself in the matrix detox with those frequencies. But if you do not add a binder, this will take you 3 years. Because I have been in a chronic detoxing loop because at the last minute, something will happen and I just can't take it anymore because I didn't realize I just needed to add a binder. Now, what would a spiritual binder be? Okay. What would a chemical binder be that would chemically help your emotion? All right. Number one, breath work. Number one, because imagine the breath is going to take that toxic matrix and start pulling it out of your root chakra, taking that toxic matrix and pulling it out of your sacral. Okay. I'm not going to go to plant medicine as number one because that's going to create a whole other detox. It's going to, so it's like you're doing a spiritual detox. If you do a whole bunch of plant medicine and you don't have binders set up, you might also do a physical detox, and that might be overwhelming to your system. So again, what we want to do is look at exiting the matrix in 3 points, the exact same protocol as a parasite cleanse. Number one, prep the body. Prepare the body for exiting the matrix. That would be imagineering work. That would be self-love work. That would be reconnection to myself. That would be reconnection to my inner child. That would be building the wish fulfilled. Building the new self-concept is the prep work. Okay? Now, the prep work is actually your binder in the spiritual world. Because as you walk through the shadow of death, which is back to your I, your am has to go back to the I. You've created all this separation and all this demonic influence in between your I and your M that puts you into spiritual dementia, that makes you fall asleep, okay? And then pull for the matrix for relief. So anytime you're like, I'm going for it, I'm exiting the matrix, and then the pain or the poverty or the scarcity starts to show up, and you reach for the matrix, you reach for the ibuprofen. That's all you did. You're still going to make it through, but you're repoisoning yourself. And this is why it takes people so long, including myself, because I didn't realize that I needed to really have like incredible binders. I needed the binders to help basically pull all that separation and demonic influence out of me so I didn't believe it was me. So all the guilt and shame is just the skunk effect. Right? That's why when we kind of go back to source, we go through like a fraud complex and we relive a lot of guilt and shame. That's just the skunk effect. That is the matrix expressing itself inside of you, trying to get you to go back into the game, back into that movie where it's comfortable, where someone's going to pay my bills, where at least I have a job. At least I know I have food tomorrow. Okay. And this is what happens. And this is why it takes us so long. So what I want us to do is start looking at where, number one, did we do our proper prep work? Because if you guys did not do proper prep work, you have no business leaving the matrix. No business. Where are you going? Which movie are you going to if you don't have your own? If you have not remembered your heart's movie and have a clear definition of who that main character is, you don't need to know what she does every day, but you need to begin to live as her in Imagineering, know what she stands for, what she represents, how she serves. Okay, so this is the whole concept of the planner. I would never even known this stuff if I hadn't been working in my own planner, because I didn't. When you're not working on your like non-linear script, you have to actually have a linear script so that you can see your progress. Okay. And I'm going to tell you, this is a lot like pregnancy. If some of us were in pain for 9 months when we were pregnant, but we were told by the doctor that there was a baby in there. Okay. That's the prep work. So basically what I'm saying is for you to get through the matrix detox that you have to go through, all the contracts, okay, all the demonic influences that are in your body, all these addictions, all this looping shit that they have stored in your field that you have also brought in and that you have played over and over again. In order for you to totally detox that out, you have to have a solid I am wish fulfilled stronghold going on. Why else would you go? You're going to get halfway there and be like, I don't even know if that exists. And you're going to retreat. Or you're going to keep trying to do spiritual work to somehow make you worthy to accept her. So if you're doing any worthiness work right now, that's a program. If you're finding yourself feeling unworthy, that's a program. That's not you. If you feel strangely guilt or shame for something that you've already worked on, accepted, blessed, and let go, that's a program. Okay. And so what that's telling you is that you need to do two things. You need to go back to who I choose to be, not who I was programmed to be. And then I need to create a binder. And the binder is she's going to get you through this. He's going to get you through this. You have to hold on to where you're going. Just like at night when you're driving in the rain and you can only see 100 feet in front of you, right? You're certain there's going to be signs. You're certain. You're also certain that you have the GPS. So if you don't create the new IMAX movie, just like, why do you think it's called iPhone and IMAX? Because they own your eye. They don't even let you play out your own script here. That's why as soon as you start, the skunk effect happens and your whole system gets poisoned. Everybody attacks you, you go through lawsuits, your back goes out, your sciatic goes out, you start menopause. You guys, I have seen it all these last 2 years with you. Okay? It's like every single time one of you starts to get too close to your new eye, you guys go through a hellish detox that you think is an illness. Like every single one of you like falls off the wagon with a money issue, a health issue, or a relationship issue when you start leaving the matrix. Okay? But guess what? We know this. Now we know, okay, my job as a biohacker, all right, is for me to say, okay, yeah, but this is how it's set up. Stop taking it personally. Right? This is just how they're doing it. It is exactly the same thing that parasites do, the matrix is going to do to you as you begin to live. All hell is going to break loose, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you are detoxing it out of your system. So all the suppressed pain is going to be in your face. All the suppressed guilt is going to be in your face. Because again, a parasite is not poisoning you with something that was not already inside of you. It's just letting it go. Okay? It's just like, how does your partner know exactly how to hurt you? Right? It's like in a moment of an argument or something, they'll just like, boom. And you're like, ouch. Because they were holding that in because they knew that that would hurt you. And when you hurt them, it's just like a parasite dying. It's like, well, this is here right back at you. Hopefully none of us are having those relationships anymore, but we've had them. We've had that partner that just knew how to hit below the belt. But it's the same as a parasite. It's an eye for an eye in the matrix. Oh, you hurt me? I'm gonna hurt you. Oh, you killed me? Okay, I'm gonna release all my babies so that you have to do another cleanse to get rid of my kin while you're so poisoned that you never want to. The next time you see a parasite cleanse, your stomach's gonna hurt so bad you're gonna have PTSD. That's what they're hoping for, is that the symptoms of the matrix detox have been so intense for you that part of you just wants to go back in. Okay? So if you guys are experiencing this, you're doing it right. And it was so interesting because I was like, why is this on my feed? I'm trying to watch design shows here. And it's parasite, parasite, parasite. I was like, okay, there's something here for me. And then it was like, oh, don't do it without the binder. And I was like, of course. But then I was like, spiritual binder. And then that took me down my own little meditation rabbit hole. And I asked Spirit, and she was like, finally, you asked. I'm like, so we have to have spiritual binders. Okay? Number one spiritual binder is that you're aware of this. So if you did a parasite cleanse and you knew you had to add a binder, it would be so much easier. But if you didn't, and then you started developing autoimmune issues and, all kinds of COVID cyclings and all kinds of weird stuff that's in the air, you would think, I'm sick. I've heard 2 people tell me this week that they're sick. You guys are not sick, you're detoxing. You can't get sick anymore. You cannot get sick. You are detoxing. Even if it's your knee flaring up. You know what's trying to happen? That generational trauma is trying to come out. That inflammation of 12 generations of pissed off women is trying to come out through your knee. Okay? Your sciatic, that's just your old relationship conflicts. That's your indecisiveness on you not picking your movie. All right? Any sort of inflammation, gut issues, this is all detox. This is why the triggers are so important, is because they tell you where do you need to add a binder. So number 1, breath. Okay, that's going to be you taking your movie making team back, pausing the movie, editing. All right. And if you fill up your body with love, that's the same as adding charcoal. Okay. Now, having a support system, having someone to talk through things that is not going to judge you, right? Like Ya and Andy have created. Talk through the detox. But if you guys own this, if you say I'm sick or I'm having this challenge in my relationship ever since I woke up, then you're actually re-identifying yourself now with being sick is a spiritual journey. And we want to remove that and say, I'm detoxing the matrix. This conflict in my relationships, detoxing the matrix. This body problem, detoxing the matrix. So I need some support with this. Okay? You see how one is cause and one is the effect. Because I've seen a lot of you guys break down and go to MD doctors because of spiritual symptoms, because you get so scared. All right. Now you got to do what you got to do. You're under dementia, but you want to get back to center and say all discord happens first in thought, then chemical. Then you believe it because you had a chemical reaction about it. Fear is going to give you adrenaline and cortisol, and that's going to feel real. Just like when you watch a horror movie, it feels more real when you listen to the music. The chemical is what makes it feel real. But if you did not have hormones, you would not buy into any of this because you wouldn't have the forced feeling. That's why you have to make up your own feelings. And this is epigenetics 101. You have to be like, this is a shit show. How can I create endorphins right here? All right. You're like, this is actual hell right now. How can I create oxytocin? Because although you are in a movie, you could create your own environment, produce your own hormones in the worst possible situation, and change the movie. This is why every teacher says you have to feel it. You know why they're saying that? Because you have to produce the hormone that gets you into the different movie. Because your higher self doesn't live in adrenalized stress. Your higher self does not live on adrenaline and drama. Okay? She or he is living in oxytocin. Serotonin is I feel safe. All right? Oxytocin is I feel love. Dopamine, I feel satisfied. Endorphins, I feel joy. Do you want anything other than that? Okay, then you're going to have to take the worst situation and create a binder, which is, this is a horrific situation and I'm going to add oxytocin here, which usually means I have to be grateful. Because what's going to produce oxytocin is gratitude. Okay? What is going to produce serotonin? Forgiveness. Is this coming full circle for you guys? All right. Going back to joy, there's your endorphins. Finding something to be in love with. Go read The Honeymoon Effect by Bruce Lipton. He talks about how to create environments of love when there's no love. If you really are not on the epigenetic bandwagon yet, that's a great book because it's not the big biology of belief, scary, stuff, which isn't, it's freaking awesome. But if you just want the highlight reel, you can read The Honeymoon Effect because he tells you if you create a world of love, no matter what's happening, like the storm, I love it, right? Because actually, you are in love with everything you're recreating because all you are is love. So you are a character that loves drama. Have you ever met the people that are like, oh my gosh, I just don't do drama, and yet their world is surrounded by drama? They're literally producing it. Why do all these toxic people? There's no good men in my area. Like, it's coming out of you. You're the algorithm. Okay? So you're producing it. So if we want a different movie, there's going to be two things that are going to happen. You're going to have to detox this one out of you so you stop having spiritual dementia and falling asleep at the wheel. And number two is you're going to have to create the hormonal environment that basically acts like charcoal to get you into your movie that's already playing, which means there's no money to get over there. There's no job to get. Everything is already playing. So it's like double dutch. It's going, and you're like, I got to get over there. Boom. And then you're over there. Now you're one. That's all you have to do. So you're like, how am I going to get the money for my dream home? That's spiritual dementia. That's a demonic entity. But again, if you're like, no, how do I create oxytocin right now? That's a binder. Okay. You're like, I just got this horrific IRS note. Okay. I got to create a hormone here that takes me out of this movie. And then what is amazing about it is it's seamless. The way that the movies work together is you're playing double dutch to get into your new movie, right? You're detoxing in this movie. And if you stay above the waves on your surfboard, okay, it actually ends up being a win-win. It works out to be a win-win, which is, I'm so grateful this happened. The perfect solution showed up because I was already in the wish fulfilled, and I brought oxytocin into a moment where I normally would have raging fear and anger. Because if you have the raging fear and anger, then you are the old character. So the only way to get to the new movie is to bring a different hormone to the old movie, because that's like what if I was watching Friday the 13th and all of a sudden like the Sound of Music came on? You'd be like, what? That's what you got to do. You got to add a new soundtrack to the horror movie to get out of it, because the cells, the minions, they all are hypnotized by sound. Do you know your hormones are actually sound? So as soon as you release oxytocin, all the minions are in love. Okay? As soon as you release adrenaline, all the minions are ready to fight. Except the ones in the digestion, they're like, we're going to sleep. We're going to go to sleep, and then, we'll see you whenever you get over this guy. So they stop working. But you understand that the minions are communicated not by your word, but your sound. So the emotion that you bring with your affirmation is the hormone. Okay? And this is why when women are in synthetic hormones, all right, and they're on estrogen for menopause or something, then it's like their movie is going to be contaminated by that synthetic hormone. And I'm not saying it's bad or good to do it, because I'm saying you're an alchemist and you're in a hologram. So there's nothing physical that could actually hurt you, but you would want to make a script change, right? And work around what others. And the only reason you're having to take a synthetic is because you're out of alignment with your movie. Because if you look at our tribal energy early on, they did not suffer through menopause. They were excited. It was a transition into the medicine state, into the sage, into the crone, which was actually a promotion. We look at menopause as a demotion. Like you hear these doctors, oh, you're gonna lose your sex drive, you're gonna gain 150 pounds, blah blah. You're like, what? Or some of you are like, I can't wait, I don't want my period anymore. Okay, but if you look at who you are as a hologram, it's a cycle that you really signed up for, because it's a whole different character. Right? The matriarch is a whole different character than the maiden. And you came to play different characters if you choose. Now, in the coming years, with us realizing, I'm going to give you a secret here. Okay. Now, if you've read research journals about telomeres, okay, telomeres are what is attached to the end of the cell that sustains your life force energy. So they say that once your telomeres are gone, you're going to push up daisies. Not true. Not true. And if you want proof, you can go watch Bruce Lipton talk about this. Joy creates more telomeres. So you have a certain amount of telomeres in your genetic profile. So let's say in your family lineage, you're like, okay, you're going to have telomeres until you're 80 and then it's a slow goodbye because of your bloodline. All right. And you're like, okay, that's shit. I don't want that. I want to just get started at 80. So if I choose the frequency of joy, joy and oxytocin actually generates telomeres. That means you don't have to age. So if you were in gamma, you don't age at all. There's no aging in gamma. If you're in theta, it's very slow. Slow aging. Alpha is a little faster. Beta, 3 times faster. You're aging 3 times faster. Okay. And then obviously you're in delta, you're in hibernation. Okay. So it's slower there too. So what is aging us is number one, our genetics. We're going off of their profile because we didn't change the movie, or we're living in high levels of beta, which is fight, flight, freeze, fawn, friend. And you could be like, no, I'm good. Okay. I'm like, you're in beta. Let's look at your nervous system. Let me touch you. Ow! You sensitive to your clothes. You're sensitive to your ears. You're sensitive to smells, right? Your social battery is like this much. You're reactive. Like your nervous system is controlled by the matrix. Now, when you start detoxing, your nervous system is going to want to go into the fetal position. This is why we have to manually breathe, manually stretch. So this is not a only mental game, you guys. We have to do mental, chemical, physical. Mental, thought, and then we generate the hormone. We tell the minions, and then we have the physical experience. And then we hold space and reparent for whatever the inner child has to go through. Because if you're like me, and one of the ways you survived your childhood was you left your body, at some point you have to come back. And it's like a haunted house in there. It's really scary because time does not ever change trauma because time doesn't exist. So if I left my body at 4 and I come back at 45, that same energy is like, I've been here this whole time. Welcome home. And by the way, I have completely redesigned your house. And these are all my entity babies. You're like, what? And that's what it's like because we have to go in and then we have to detox the haunted house emotionally, chemically, and physically. And so how that works projection wise is it looks like attacks. It looks like judgments. It looks like problems. It looks like lawsuits. It looks like money issues. Okay. That's part of your detox. That's where you're going to add the binders. So if for this group here, we want to focus on 2 things because the detox is going to happen on its own. We don't have to do anything there. We have to solidify the wish fulfilled. We have to create the end at the beginning. Okay? Which means that you're not starting in, oh, I have to walk through the shadow of death. No, you're starting as the new I, and whatever shows up, you're going to show up as her. That's your only hope. And that was the movie that was popular the year Luke was born. Star Wars: A New Hope. Because I looked it up. Okay, so your only hope is to lean on the eye of your choice. Because if you try to walk through the shadow of death in your old eye, you are going to live in hell on earth because you're operating in separation trying to get to unity. You will never get to unity from separation. You have to start in unity and walk unified with your Trinity through this experience using as many binders as you can. Another binder, journaling, right? Grounding, nature, water, like anything to do with nature is going to act as a binder. So you feel like you're going absolutely insane because your spiritual detox. Okay, so what an ego death actually is just this, it's the matrix detoxing out of you. That's why we feel so unhinged at times and so out of our mind, is because we're detoxing the matrix out and we don't know who we are anymore. We don't have certainty. We feel, I don't even know how to feel, right? I don't know what to do. Okay, so that's when you're going to go, I need a binder. Let me create a binder. Now, this could even be a physical binder, right? You could go and take a borax capsule, right? And get lots of magnesium, because one thing that happens is when you're detoxing all the old antibiotics out, all the world out of you, you're also going to lose a lot of the good stuff, the good minerals. All right. So those of us who are detoxing poverty right now may not have, hundreds of dollars to go out and buy expensive, body work, but you could literally do a full body support system like a binder. I don't recommend you do like a parasite cleanse and a spiritual cleanse at the same time, right? Pick your poison. Okay. But if you can get grounded and in nature, that will start detoxing you naturally, anyways. But you're going to use the binder. So that's your daily pages. That's your daily routine is a binder. Your night reflections is a binder. You're speaking in a safe place. Like you're speaking things that you've never been allowed to say. Even though you're taking responsibility, you're still feeling the feelings, getting it out of the body. So whatever helps you pump your stomach, pump your system in a loving way where you're able to take full responsibility for it is going to collapse the wave. And now you're going to be just right in your new movie sooner, because there's no actual walk. It's just a detox. All you're doing is unmasking, because you've always been there and your movie's always been playing, which means the day you were born, your movie started. Okay. But your eye was stolen from you and made to watch this movie and be a part of this movie and buy into this movie and believe in this movie. And one of the things about this movie is you're not allowed to be worthy in this movie because you're a peasant. Okay. So over here, you're right. You don't have to get worthy. You already are. So all you're doing is lining up the frequencies, and you only need those 4 frequencies. Okay. Just like you only need forgiveness. So when I say forgiveness, blessing, gratitude, and focus on your joy list, that is the vibration of your higher self. And that's going to give you the perfect hormones, which is environment, which is soundtrack, to recalculate, recode, rewire, reconcile your body. That's going to reprogram the minions. But if you try to get to your new I am through resentment, good luck. It ain't gonna happen. Because that's the lower vibration of the lower world. That's the 3D world where you're motivated out of lack. So in the 3D world, your character is motivated from lack. Otherwise, you'd never go to your job. Okay? You would never get up in the morning if you were not motivated by lack in the 3D world. In the 5D world, you are motivated by experience and play. Oh, I get to play with all my toys today. I get to play with all my friends today. Because when you build a body out of serotonin, I am safe, oxytocin, I am love, endorphins, I am joyful, excited, and playful, and the other one, dopamine, I am satisfied. That is your frequency of higher self. So that's how I can kind of bring the 7 hermetic laws into this one conversation, because everything that's happening inside of your body is an exact match of how the matrix is set up. So the same way that the parasites get at, just like we need the spirit of the dead, we came into the spirit of the dead's world so that we could manifest. We're on their turf. But what we did is we allowed it to overtake our consciousness. And then it became like The Walking Dead in there. And now the consciousness of the parasite or the consciousness of the demonic energy has overtaken our consciousness, and it's giving us spiritual dementia. All right. Now, I'm going to give you some quick nutrition shout outs. I'm not a licensed, but come on. I think my PhD is way bigger than anybody that actually went to school and read a book that's obsolete the day they read it. So anyways, because I'm pulling from the cloud. But if we were going to look at dementia, which I've worked a lot with a lot of different dementia patients, is they need 2 things in order to kind of rebuild neural pathways correctly if they are treated correctly. Okay. Three things. Number one, protein. You need to be eating about a gram of protein per body weight. You have to build a new body. Now, you don't have to build a new body, but so protein is alive and fat is dead. All right? Fat is going to be programmed. Okay? Muscle is very alive. And if your muscle is programmed to the matrix, it's going to fight against you. All right? That's why we do the resistance training in quantum fitness, is because you're reprogramming it through like a 3-minute plank saying I ams. You want some new muscle that I am. Do a 3-minute plank while you're saying I ams. Okay? With a 30-pound weight vest. That'll get you some new body. Because basically what you want to do is you want to kill off the old muscle that's saying I am not, because it's alive and thinking. You want to build new muscle, all right? So just eating a healthy amount of protein and going on a walk, that's going to help you build a new body. Now, I would say don't do anything without intention. Don't put any piece of protein in your mouth that you haven't programmed first. Okay? You can put the hormone that you want on your food. You can think about something that you love and put oxytocin in that food. You're an alchemist. Everything's a hologram. You don't have to worry about, is this food contaminated? Oh my God, you're God. Stop. Tell the food what to be, right? But we do want to work with, it's almost like, let's use some cheat codes and biohacks here. Let's use the agreed upon frequency of protein so that I don't have to now create protein. I can just eat it. Okay? So protein, and you do need a huge amount of healthy fats. Why? Your brain is electric. What happens if you try to drive a car with no oil? Okay? So, especially if you're dealing with spiritual dementia, which is you keep falling asleep and forgetting who you are halfway through the day, you have to have a ton of protein and a ton of healthy fats, no sugar. Sugar is food of the demon world. And it feeds the parasites that are talking inside of you, and it destroys muscle. It steals all of your healthy minerals in your body, and it goes right into the fat cell to feed the entity. Okay? All right, so last but not least, you have to create a safe environment. Now, if you are not living in a safe environment, I'm sending you love, but you are safe. And you can start telling yourself you are, and as soon as you cross the threshold with enough hormonal reprogramming, it's law, you will be in a safe environment. But you're going to have to tell yourself you're safe when you're not safe. And you're going to have to generate that hormone, right? Now, if you are going to do like plant medicine or something like that, please, I highly recommend that you get with someone who can act as a binder for you, who can hold space, that can take on anything that you dish out or need during that process. All right? Now, if you're doing microdosing, that's different. But what you'll notice is your spiritual dementia is going to kick in right when you start crossing through the threshold, and you're going to stop wanting to meditate. You're going to stop doing your daily pages. You're going to stop microdosing. You're going to stop, and you're not even going to know why. That's part of your detox. Okay? Is this helping you guys today? Okay, is there any questions about this? Because there's a lot of information here. I could have done 2 classes here, but I really wanted you to have the how it works in here and how it works there, as it is just the macro to micro, and it's as above is below. So law of, it's the 7 hermetic laws.
I'm being
Could I
guided
share
to
my
share
stories?
something.
Oh,
Go ahead, yeah, and then you can go, Ann.
Oh,
Is that
okay.
fair?
Okay.
Yeah. So can I share my story so you can help me like unpack just your input, because I did it really fast. So the year I was born, it was Superman. Then I have
Lucky you.
year
Mhm.
7, Coming to America, the one with Eddie Murphy. Year 8, I have Batman. Year 9, Home Alone. And year 10, Terminator 2.
That makes perfect sense to me. I know you. Which one is confusing?
No, right? Yeah, I feel it too. But I just wanted to see if
So
you have.
okay, let's break down the metaphors real quick. So Superman is actually the representation of our higher self, letting us know that we're all going to have a kryptonite, we're all going to have a disguise, but we're actually bulletproof as soon as we get something bigger than ourselves to serve. Okay, like the S on his chest stands for superhuman or higher self. Okay. Now you're way younger than me. So anybody that's younger than me is gonna already come in. You guys are coming in. Okay, I'm like an old pickup. I'm like an old truck. Okay, like I can take any kind of gas. Right? You can give me a banana, but you guys are more like Ferraris, where you're all sensitive and stuff because your vibration every 5 years the generation has like increased. So your levels of alienness has increased. Okay. So that's why the indigos like turned into the crystal children. So like the indigos really started coming in the 80s and I was born in the 70s. Okay. So like I said, I'm the old pickup truck. Now I'll run forever and I'm loyal, but and I can go on the dirt roads, but you guys are like Ferraris. So you can't go on the wrong roads. You can't eat the wrong foods. So what you're saying, when you came in, you were imprinted with the story of that's possible, which is pretty freaking cool. And I came in with, here's your life, Jaws. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that that was your life, but that was an imprint. People were talking about that. That was going into your epigenetics. Okay. So then if we go, what was the next one? Coming to America?
Yeah, coming to
Now,
America.
this entire freak show, this entire reality show of the galaxy, headquarters is America. It's the New Jerusalem. So it's headquarters coming to America, where, if you look at the premise of that story, okay, is it's a king who's like amazingly rich who has to pretend to be poor to find love. That's a nice little program. And there was the next one. Batman. Batman. Okay, he's a superhuman because of his trauma, but he's rich. That's cool. Right? So it's like his trauma made him superhuman. Hello, that's how we got our intuition. Is that your 8 year or 9?
Yeah, Batman is 8.
Okay, so that's your loop. So your trauma is what keeps making you superhuman. You want to tell a different story. None of us want to be Batman. I mean, he's cool and stuff, but I mean, come on, Iron Man's way hotter. So it's like if we like this, it's the loop story. So what was the next story?
Home Alone.
Okay. This is where you're doing it by yourself and you're not afraid. You're taking on 2 bullies, right? And then now you're appreciating family and love. Hello. Is that not your story? Right?
Yeah.
Come on, give me any movie. I've watched every single one of them. How much protein per this year I was born? It was Exorcist. Girl, I'm with you. Exorcist. See, that's why we were born into fear. So 1 pound, and again, you could do half a pound, but if you have been really toxic in your mind and you haven't been on a health journey yet, you're really going to want to up your protein because protein is going to help you burn old fat, burn out the old, it's going to help your system move into your new I am because it has to has a physical representation and protein. I mean, come on, you guys, have you ever, I'm not asking you to look like bodybuilders at all, but if you look at what the mythology of a superhero is, they're strong. They've got muscle because muscle is alive and fat is dead. Okay. And fat is all toxins are fat soluble, which means they can't survive in water, but they can all survive in fat. And so again, the more water and weight we're carrying, okay, then we up our healthy fat, which produces serotonin to make us feel satisfied. It gives our brain oil so we don't seize while we're building a brand new hologram. Okay, it's also a form of self-love. When you get off sugar and you go into more of a ketogenic style of, and again, I'm not recommending keto for life, but like I've been on a ketogenic diet for the last, like I'd say 6 or 7 years, and it has literally saved my life. Because of all of the transitions that I'm going, I'm constantly rebuilding a new body. Okay. And when you're going in ketosis, you're literally burning fat for energy instead of eating your own muscle. Because it's like if you guys don't eat any protein, what is your body? Your body needs program, so it eats its own program. So then you're skinny fat girl. Okay. So you don't want to eat your own protein. That's carnivore. Or I mean, that's a cannibal. Okay. So 1 pound So again, this is like, all right, if you're, like I'm, okay, I think I'm 103 pounds right now. So I would need 103 grams of protein. Now, my body's not all going to absorb all of that. And again, I'm not going to ask you guys to go out there and do that. But if you did this, it would act as a binder. It will act as a binder the more protein you eat. Okay. All right. So, was that enough of to answer your question, Yar? Or you have anything else? See,
Yeah,
I think
no,
it's
the
so
last
fun.
one was Terminator 2.
Oh, Terminator 2. Do you know the story of Terminator 2 is the origin story of Matrix?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's all about the Christ consciousness.
Yep.
See, it's perfect for you. You're
Yeah.
stepping into your Neo era. I love this so much. Mm. Okay, who else? Mm. Anne, what you got?
As soon as I got crystal clear on my I am,
Good.
like the wish fulfilled, and then even with being a part of the circle of grace,
Mhm.
which is I shared this with Yaya and Andy that Anne means grace in Latin.
Mhm. Of
And
course it
I'm
does.
coming full circle. When I looked real quick to see what my box office hit was for 1971, it was Love Story.
I love it. But you
So
guys also go look, if you haven't watched the movie, go look at the plot because it will have a meaning for you. And again, everyone has their own movie, but you'll see a significance there.
absolutely. Um, when you were talking about the parasite cleanse, so I'm going to be completely transparent. I know because I know my body so well, and I know about the binders and about pulling the stuff out.
Good.
Um, I was guided intuitively to do a third cleanse this year, but preparing myself for it because I knew the amount of stuff that was going out.
That's
Because
fine.
it as
If
that
you're ready for
version of
it.
me
Yeah.
was so grandiose.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, really, when I was going in really deep, like incorporating the vibration plate,
Mhm.
incorporating, I actually brought out my fascia
Good.
blaster, used that yesterday because I knew that there was some stuff that was ready to come out, and it
Yeah.
did.
Mhm.
So what I've been using, simply sharing what I'm being guided to share, it's a product that felt good to me. Now, this may be different for somebody else, but it was called Para End. It has a blue label with white lettering on it. And what I liked about it is it has diatomaceous earth in it.
Yeah. Mhm.
It has the black walnut, wormwood, clove powder, oil of oregano, olive leaf, garlic powder, odorless, which is a good thing, garlic seed, golden seal, ginger root, and turmeric.
So it's half and half. It's half binder, half eliminate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And doing sauna, that started up again. But what's interesting about this time around is seeing like some of the real big explosive stuff coming out, like, but recognizing it and even sharing with Andy and Yaya, like, I know that's me. And I shared this with you, just like literally saying, I celebrate this. Yay. Like I'm triggered right now, but I'm happy about it. And moving my body, putting on Atomic Dog and dancing it out or whatever it is,
Heck yeah.
because it's finally coming up, coming out. But here's the funny thing. One of the dreams that I woke up to, and it was one of my closest loved ones. It was this version of me saying, where are the fucking donuts? And I don't even like donuts anymore.
That was one of your entities. Give me the
Yes,
donuts.
yes. I'm like, yes.
I've had some experiences like that with them too. I'm like, wow, you're aggressive when
So
you don't.
I had to share this with the group. Like, even though it may seem like things are going sour south,
Hey, that's a
hearing
good
this,
sign.
it's a really good sign because I really see like, okay, it's that closing of the gap, like where even when, you may feel worse
You're
before it
going to feel
actually,
worse, but it's going to be
yeah,
worth it.
yep.
But it's just detox. Yeah, and that's the thing is if you don't have a strong, like, if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to want to drive in that storm. That's what I'm saying is why people give up and go back to sleep is because they didn't prepare with the wish fulfilled. Just like if I didn't know I was going to get a baby out of that 9-month pregnancy, I don't know if I could have survived it because it's like you have to have something that you want more than the pain, right? It's like, you are willing to withstand. And when I say pain, if we add binders, it doesn't have to be years. This detox, because I was kind of justifying it with myself, like, well, okay, I am 50, so, or I almost 50. This was last year, so maybe it's going to take me like a year for, I don't know, each decade or something. That wasn't true at all because time doesn't exist. But what I didn't do properly is I didn't look at the negatives as a positive. I did look at the sick, I looked at the bad feelings as sickness, not detox. So I was assigning meaning to the negative that was actually sucking me back into pain. But if I would have assigned a positive to every negative, right? And like truly listen to what Neville says and what Kabbalah says about those negatives, is that's when you have free will. That's when we're changing. Because think about it. Now you can really have compassion for people who aren't going to wake up. Because there's a part of them that knows that they're going to have to go through this, right? Now, if we would have known, like say 10 years ago, that we were going to have to go through this, would we have done it? Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, I know we would have if we would have seen what's on the other side, of course. But there's a whole bunch of reasons why spirit guides tell little white lies from occasion, because they know that you won't do certain things if you knew what you were going to have to let go of. You guys realize that the only thing we've ever had to do in the Matrix is let go. We never had to get anything. We never had to be anything other than we only had to let go of the mask, let go of the program, let go of the story, let go of the attachment, let go. And so again, when we don't let go, right? Because it's all I know or it's familiar, right? Like Vicky said in the note, she's like, "Oh, great, I was in the '60s. Am I a Model T?" Right? It's like, kind of, because the older you are, the more set in your ways you are. Right? So I've had clients in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and again, they have 20 more years of programming than I do, and again, they hold their identity off of this identity. And you guys realize that if you hold your identity in the new world off this one, you'll never make it there. The identity that you need to hold on to is the story before the story. Who were you before you attracted your parents? That's your origin story. If you're not working off of that origin story, you won't make it out of here, because you're going to keep holding on to the story of a pair of rentals. Okay. And then spiritual bullshit's going to suck you into doing trauma work on your parents again. But if you go pre-parent, all right, who am I before I choose these knuckleheads? Okay. Who am I before I choose these guys? And why would I choose them? Oh, it's just like someone trying to get to America, like they're on the back of a truck. Like, I'm hiding in the back of a truck. These are my parents. This is how I got into the Matrix so I could create my own reality. Because this is the movie, this is the Hollywood of the universe. If you want to make your own hologram, you have to come here. And you have to go sit through someone else's movie and go through their story. You know when you have to go watch a stupid like 4-hour thing about timeshares just to stay at one? Okay, that's the Tom's world. You got to go watch the timeshare movie so you can go get your own. All right. So this is an agreement that we have in the universe. It's like, okay, you're going to go and see how reality is created, and then you're going to choose your own reality and choose your own adventure. This is why your movies are actually so significant. So I hope you play with this, because it's really going to help you get more childlike. And then I did the songs too. I was dying laughing, you guys. Oh no, there was one more I forgot. It wasn't 3 straight Star Wars. One of them was Back to the Future, and that was this last year when I was 10. Back to the Future. Hello. Like, so it's just like so funny when you look at if we make this a big joke, okay? And I will tell you that laughter is one of the greatest forms of oxytocin that you can create. Because of your tone, you're sharing it out like a huge wave. Like when you feel love, it's emanating out, but when you laugh and tone, you're doing like pockets of oxytocin out into the universe. Okay, so I highly recommend you dance, you laugh till you pee, you find your people that you can be ugly hilarious with, right? Tell your stories, but not attached to them. Let go of every attachment to this movie. Take your wisdom highlights, okay? Your little gray hairs. Take your wisdom highlights with you. Take your testimony with you because that's your element to understand humanity. Like if you wouldn't have gone through your trials, you would not have compassion for humanity. Okay. And this is why we go through the detox because it's like the birth canal, right? And they say that if babies don't go through the birth canal, then they don't turn their pineal glands on and they don't get the DMT hit. Okay. So when they're born C-section, they miss out on that birth canal experience. And that's the same as the detox because it's pulling all the poison off. So when they go into the new world, they're activated. This is why we're going through this. So if we try to do it the C-section way, okay, then we might have attachment issues. You see what I'm saying, right? So it's every single thing that happens in nature is happening in our movie, is happening in our creation. So we're gonna make our own movie just like Satan does in Hollywood. But guess what? I'm my own producer. I got my own script. I got my own director. I don't need anyone. We think, oh, I don't know how to do this. I need someone out there. No. Think about what chakra is actually going to attract that and then work with that chakra. Bless that chakra, right? Bless your own producer. Okay? Forgive your own producer for making B-budget horror films your whole life. Bless them and forgive them. Have gratitude for the detox. Create the binder. And that would be that you're actively working with your sacral, not against it. Dig into your sexuality with someone safe. Unpack whatever Dexter effect you've got going on in there. All right? And just look at life as a movie. Okay? Right? Or Joe Dirt, life's a garden, dig it. All right? This is my autism. I can quote literally every movie in the world. This is what my head is full of, movie trivia. Does anybody else want to share their movie? I love it. I think this is awesome.
I'd like to share
Yes, please.
Sound of Music, 1965.
Oh, you're a Model T too. Hey, and guess what? They're very valuable now, aren't they?
Godfather, Exorcist, Blazing Saddles, and Jaws. And I am scared of sharks. And every time I go to the ocean, I'm like looking around, making sure, and I'm in the water and I'm kind of
What
looking
age was
around.
that? That would have been your 7th year?
It was 1975. It's 10.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was your 10th year?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your theme of this year. So whatever movie was on your 10th year is going, not your theme, but what you're here to work through right now. Okay? So again, that's perfect. So what's a shark? Right? Nothing. They literally want no part of you. I know. They've come super close to me. Right? If you have a wetsuit, they kind of bump into you to see how you smell, but they really don't want you. Nature is far more intelligent than human, and the reason why is because they aren't separated from source. They know their role. Okay? So even in the toxic beaches of Malibu, they still didn't want to eat me. And I was kind of like, please eat me. This sucks here. But look into that. Look into the fear of sharks. What does that fear come from? You know, because that's just part of your old I am. Especially if you're making all of it up, you want to be afraid of sharks. But again, you're going to have to unpack the metaphor because it's a parable. So look at the movies that I suggested, look at them as parables for you. If you haven't watched the movie, either go watch it or look at the description and see if you can find a common denominator of the seventh year is the hardening of the subconscious. The eighth year is the loop of what you're going to be reliving, blah, 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 right? 9 is going to be what you've completed or are working to complete. And the 10th year is going to be what's coming up for your detox. Okay.
Very awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do a share.
Yes, please.
I was on vacation with no internet, so it took me a bit to catch up with the few
Classes, yeah.
classes. So I just can't tell you how much fun I'm having with the Trinity.
Yay, me too.
The forgiveness, the gratitude, and the joy. I was working on 4 people yesterday, and I just feel so good inside, and I just don't feel anything. Like I just feel neutral.
Yes.
Like there's no charge with anything, and I've been asking questions, and there's no charge, and I just can't believe it. I'm so excited. I just think it's absolutely wonderful. It's really, really helped. And I'm just starting, so.
Yes, I'll tell you. So when on my birthday, I set an experiment for myself that I was only going to give myself those 3 frequencies plus the blessings. Okay. Blessing and then those 3 frequencies. Okay. That was it. No matter what was happening. So if it was anger, I had to turn it into something else. Okay. If it was anything else, I had to use one of those 3 frequencies. And I will tell you that I've probably had 15 things manifest that have been not manifesting for 2 years in these last 9 days. And I'm like you, I don't have a bad bone in my body for anything because I have a place to go. It's a binder, right? I can use the self-forgiveness. I can bless. I can be grateful for the problem. And it's as simple as this. I'm pissed right now, but I only get these 3 frequencies. If you do it that way, you will find your binder, and that program will go right out of you. So I can't wait, Karen, to see what even another week is like for you, right? Because you're kind of living your dream like 99%. So, just that little bit, and that old resentment stuff was probably generational bullshit. It wasn't even yours because your theme is joy. You're here to be joy.
Exactly.
Right. So if you get to be yourself, even when shit's hitting the fan, then other people are like, oh, well, she's allowed to be joyful. You're teaching joy. You see? So I had someone say in a session yesterday, like, well, I chose joy, but then I kind of felt bad because it wasn't a joyful situation. I'm like, but that's a human program. It's like, oh, I feel bad that I don't feel bad. Because we are so conditioned to have that tribal community in the feeling state. Like, oh, we're all supposed to feel bad right now. We're all supposed to feel good right now. We're all supposed to laugh right now. That right there is one of the reasons why when they stopped making the blockbuster movies that we all gave our life to is we stopped following what they were telling us to feel. And then we had all these other choices, right? Even though they still kind of own the media and stuff, but that's when that spell started to break. So you just have to break that with your family. So it's like, if you're not feeling mad at politics, right? There's like almost like this small obligation, like, okay, everyone's mad here and I got to pretend that I'm in this movie, right? Right. But how about you don't? How about you pick one of those 3 frequencies? Doesn't mean you have to share out loud and get, tomatoes thrown at you, but you could literally sit there and forgive everybody's karma for them. You could literally fill up your whole body with oxytocin and put a timer on your phone to see when the mood change in the room. Because you guys realize that your hormones are leaking out of you all the time. And your thoughts are leaking out of you all the time. Nothing's private. We all share fields. So let's try an experiment this week. Let's go into a like whatever situation we have to go into because we're still peasants until we're not, right? And then whatever situation, if you feel the energy is very, very low, create your own environment, epigenetics, and either serotonin might be a challenge, but you could probably go into oxytocin with love by just thinking about something that you love. And when you begin to feel it, right? I want you to just tell your field, magnetize this by 10 in your mind. Magnetize this by 10 and then literally watch the room. Okay? What you're going to see is you're going to see lightening up happening in the room because of you. And I don't think that if you do this experiment, you would ever be able to feel unworthy again. Because when you walk into a room, as a chosen one, because you're choosing yourself, whatever vibration you're in, right? If it isn't strong in your presence, you're going to adapt to the room, or you could have the room adapt to you. You don't have to say a thing, right? Let's say a bunch of scared people are in there. You could focus on your relationship with Creator and just pump out serotonin into the room. Okay? Right? You can recall the last joyful moment you have and requalify all those endorphins and give away some joy. And you can do this without telling a joke, without hugging people, without consoling people, without fixing people's problems, without listening to their bullshit. This is why they say that your superpower is in the silence. So let's be generators. Because here's the thing, you guys, no one's getting into the kingdom until you become an influencer. Okay, and then you'll be a paid influencer. So think it like this. What is an influencer? It is someone who influences you to buy something, to do something, to get something. So what we want to do as the Christ consciousness is we want to be the influencers of the kingdom, which means that we are generating and demonstrating kingdom frequencies, which is safe, free, happy, joyful, right? So let's practice that this week. And then if you guys do this, like, and don't get down on yourself if you don't see it right away, because then you're going to be going into your adrenaline, which means that you stay and you see, instead of going, it's not happening yet, just see how long it takes you. And the only reason why it's going to take you maybe a few minutes longer than you think is because you don't believe it's going to happen. Right? But if you're ever in Kansas City, go out somewhere with me. Because I will go somewhere and I'll be like, I don't like the energy in here. Give me a minute. And I'll just be populating it. Because I'm like, I want to play in a space that feels safe. I want to play in a space that feels love. What I used to do is I would walk into the room and I would feel the negativity, and then I would just go give everybody compliments. Like, oh my God, I love your shoes. Where'd you get that bag? And by the time I left the restaurant, everybody's happy. Because that works too. But that's also me putting myself out there when I could do it all vibrationally. So there's lots of ways to do this, but our job is to walk into, my new little affirmation is, oh, I get to make Satan's world joyful. I get to make Satan's world joyful. I get to bring joy to Satan's world until he kicks me out. Because he will. He'll be like, get out of here. You're influencing everyone. I'll be like, I'm leaving. But you realize that was why we went through hell, is so we could leave heaven. We went through hell so we could leave the imprint. You know how, like I said, when the parasites die, right? And they open up all the toxins. Well, when we cross over to our new world, we open up all the love and we leave it here. And we're like, and then we go to the 5D. So it is exactly inversion. So what we're full of is love. Okay, so that when we let it go, we're leaving that imprint. That's why your favorite grandma, you can still smell her cookies, because she literally left her essence for you. Okay? And that was her service. Putting that love in those cookies, no matter what she was going through, that you remembering and getting oxytocin from a memory of the way her cookies smell is like her superpower. So don't feel lightly about what you're bringing to the table right now, because you're the table. Right? And whether your theme is prosperity, okay, let's say your field is prosperity and you're walking into lack. Pump out some prosperity in there. Get in your royal energy. Get your posture changed. Not that you're better than anybody else. Just remind everybody else in that room who they are too. Okay? If your theme is joy, if your theme is love, start being who you came to be in the old movie. That will also act as a binder. The year I was born was The Exorcist. Oh, God love you, Alwyn. Yes, relatable. Yep. Oh, so many funny things. But you guys, this is the Truman Show. And if you knew you were in the Truman Show and you knew the only way that you were going to get your own movie was to be in the frequency of the kingdom, then your job is to bring serotonin to that horrific bill that you see on your door. You know, your job is to bring joy to the toxic auntie. And you can do it all in house. You don't have to say anything and get yourself exposed, because it's only your cells that need to feel the oxytocin to change the vibration, to change the movie. You don't have to change anyone's mind. Please stop trying to change your people. Don't try to convince. I saw someone do this yesterday. Okay. They've got their eye really solid. All right. But their partner doesn't want to do what they want to do right now. And so they're trying to like convince and like not manipulate, but like share how this person can get on board. Okay. And what I want you guys to know before we wrap is that their eye is connected to your eye. So you say nothing to them, and you say everything you want them to say to you, to yourself. You give yourself like, okay, oh, I'm going to give you everything you ever wanted. I will receive that. I get the oxytocin. Okay. Now, in about 10 days, you're going to hear him say it or her say it, because it's all being projected out of the third eye. Their behavior is your secret eye behavior that you're unaware of. And you think, well, they got the money, so I really need them to be on board with this. That's dementia. No, all your money is sitting in your producer. And you don't need to go use your sacral outside of you to get it either. All right? Does this help? Is this fun? Okay, so let's all work on adding more binders and turn every negative it's a storm, right? Keep your eyes on Jesus and don't fall underneath the water, because you can walk on water as long as your eyes are on Jesus, which is your eye, which is your higher self. Okay, don't look down, because then you're gonna go into the water. Yes.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure, of course.
So I literally had a moment when you said that about because I'm noticing that that gap is closing, but there's still some sticky things.
Of course.
So when you were saying like bring in that, I forgot how you said that, like it's not my person, because I know that we're very connected. I mean, I've seen stuff come through, but is it me, like my divine masculine saying that to me? Is that what you mean? Okay.
Anything anyone says outside of you is actually something you're saying to yourself. So we don't have to use this weird bullshitty black cat energy. Oh, I'm gonna make him do this, because he is a hologram of your movie. So the only eye that needs to get convinced of the wish fulfilled is yours. And you are not like, oh, he doesn't have free will. He's only his version in your movie. There could be 100,000 versions of your husband living different lives, and you're getting the one that's in your movie, which means his character is programmable. And he is completely excited to go on that experience with you because it's a hologram. So it's not like we're like stealing anyone's free will here, okay? But how how your eye secretly feels about itself will be treated by the outside world. That's why when we go through the detox, we get attacked, we get sued, we get these things happen, you know, family crises or body problems or whatever happens, because all you're doing is letting go of what you've had stored that you never processed or you weren't in your body to deal with when it happened originally. Because you have to go process everything that the body has been holding on to. Because remember, the only thing we're here to do is let go. But when you're in your body and you're conscious, and now you've got to let go of a story that was created in your 4th year, that's horrific. It feels like it's happening now. It feels like a lawsuit, but it's actually just, you know, a mom issue where she didn't let you go out with your friends in 3rd grade, but you couldn't process it. So anything you can't process is stored at an energetic level. And when you start to raise your vibration, you raise the dead, you raise the roots. And so now you are like, okay, this is my body, I have to be responsible for it. That's why we want the binder, because you don't have to relive everything, but you will relive every trauma if you don't add binders. And that's why most people are just like, I'm going back to sleep. Forget this. Give me the Tylenol, right? Because it's a lot to confront, but that's why it's a reparenting process. So if something does happen in your physical reality, you can probably find the marker in your first 7 years of that storyline, but now you get to hold space for yourself and be the parent you never had. And the last question I'm going to leave you guys with to ponder on, it was actually going to be my first question and I forgot. Let's just breathe for a minute. What would your real life be like if you raised you? Think about who you would be today if you raised you. Think about like what you would be doing. Just like these are really good subconscious questions because they help break up old pathways. Because that's your job, is to reparent the inner child, the feral child, back into the wish fulfilled. So just ponder for a moment, like everything you went through in this Satan's story. What if you would have been your parent? That's going to help you really discover your I easier, your I am consciousness, your real I am. Because how you would have raised you, you're going to skip in a lot of these movies. Okay? And then anything that you didn't get that you needed, that's your forgiveness work. That's your gratitude work that now you get to reparent yourself. Remember, we're just weeding and seeding here. Okay? And if you don't like the script, you guys are never going to get to 5D from your old script. That script has to get burned, which means that those seeds have to die off and you have to get quantum entangled to the wish fulfilled, or you won't make it. Because your desire will not be big enough to withstand the storm, which means your GPS won't work in your car to get you in through the storm. You'll get distracted, you'll settle for the quick fix. Okay? Because right before you walk through the doors of the kingdom, it's going to be like everything you've ever wanted, but it's going to be it's going to be a version of Satan. Like I noticed this with one of my guy clients, like he's doing really amazing, right? And obviously it's like, we're all too pretty to work. We're not too pretty to serve, right? But we're all too pretty to work. And he's working on his prosperity, right? All of a sudden, all these new clients are showing up for him, but he doesn't want clients. He wants time and money. And so again, when you've kind of walked through the fire and you become fearless, sometimes the only way that Satan can get you sucked back in is to start giving you everything that you think you want. That's why you have to be very careful that you're not sacrificing something, because I will tell you, in the kingdom, you sacrifice nothing. You work less, you have more. Okay? But right before you get there, Satan's like, oh, wow, they're really going for it here, and they're not afraid anymore. And they made peace with all their demons, and they're blessing everyone. I know, let's start giving them everything they think they want. Okay? That's why you have to see if it has something that you have to lose attached to it, because then it's from Satan. And you'll have to say, no, thank you, to 5 clients if that's not what you want to do anymore. And then that's going to be your last face off with attachment issues. You hear what I'm saying? Some of you aren't there yet, but you will get there. The last threshold, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to breadcrumb her with this now, or instead of like scaring them, right? I'm going to do the opposite. But you want more time, okay? You want more health, right? You want more joy. So, because what we're trying to do is go, oh, more clients means more money and more joy. Doesn't. It means more obligation. It means more time away from the family. So again, if it's not getting easier and more abundant with less of your physical energy being used, it's from Satan. Okay? So that's just a side note. And we will probably be working on that big time towards the end of the year, because we'll probably all be rendezvousing with that once we get through the detox. All right? Okay, guys. Love you. See you soon. Bye.